Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realnesss with 3 S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis. Here, back is my traitorous co-host, Jonathan. How are you, Jonathan? How have we missed you?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm very good. I'm very much so enjoying the season. So, thank you for asking me to talk about it and relive episode 4 with you. So, yeah, good times.
So, you've covered pretty much all the other traders with me, I believe. You weren't able to do it on, all the time ongoing for this season. I've been doing with Mel B from season 1. But I want to know how you've been feeling about the season.
I feel like it's Traders is edited so that you are kind of, you're playing along with the traders almost. Like you know who they are. You're in on the secret. And so, yet there are seasons, and I've watched every iteration of it, but there are seasons where, you really just don't like the traders. And I'm really liking the traders this season. So, overall. And so it's exciting to kind of see them go under the radar and just really see how this is all going to play out. And there's some big personalities. I just like the cast this season. There's a good little mix. So I don't know how you felt about it overall, but I just feel like every episode's exciting and interesting to watch. And I don't know how it's going to play out necessarily. And I feel like that's a theme for a lot of reality shows this kind of fall is everything feels a little different, like edited a little different, perhaps slightly, giving us a little bit more of a surprise, traders included.
100% agree. We have some friends joining us. Hi, Mary. Hi, Miko. Hello. Mary says, yeah, this season is better. Last season was. I mean, I love the traders. I love the format of the traders in general, but I definitely think that they stepped their game up this season. I don't know if it's because the faithfuls aren't the brightest, we'll say, in terms of being able to suss out a traitor, but they're great personalities and they're providing entertainment in that way. Because they're not really doing that well as a group of traders for us to be liking them, or sorry, faithfuls for us to be liking them that much. But I'm really enjoying this season.
Like the issue is, and and I've always been a firm believer of this, there are bad faithfuls, and there just seems to be more than usual, and you kind of have to decide, like, well, either way, I need to get you out if you're a bad faithful, because you're just a distraction. So there's been a lot of that. I feel like there's a lot of loud, essentially distractions that you need to kind of just vote out or get out of there, and the traders can just sit back and do their social thing and not get spotted right away.
So preseason in the past, we have had an idea of who we thought we wanted to see as a trader. Did you have any thoughts of who you wanted to be a trader? And then how do you feel about the traders that were selected?
Well, I kind of like so to get to the second part first, I kind of like the idea that the brother sister are like one on either side, and I'm really interested in that dynamic. Like, I would love for them to both kind of be in their positions much later on and really see if one can suss out the other. But I was kind of open to anything. I thought that Netta would be too obvious a traitor, but like, is it
I
not
have no
just in the
clue.
edit, or no one's talking about it? Like,
I don't
I
think
don't
anyone's
know.
talking about it.
I've seen those little, after interviews where they open the letter and they're like, "Who's the traitor?" And it doesn't seem when they're listing it off that people are listing off Netta. I'm like, how are you not just suspecting Netta? I mean, she's playing for me too nice that I would suspect her. You know what I mean? But yeah, good for them.
And who would you have wanted to see as a trader potentially?
Ooh,
Maybe before, like, you could do either before the season started or now that you know the cast, like who might you want to have seen in those roles instead?
I think I would have loved to have seen like all of the loudest or most obvious, maybe Netta being one of them, is just more an obvious choice, and just starting off with that perhaps and seeing how that goes. But I mean, I wouldn't really change anything because I'm kind of loving the dynamic of it right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with what they have, but I would like to see a season where they just have like all the blatant loudmouths kind of, just as traders, and see if they catch them right away, and how like a lot of shifting and changing over of the traders, how that works out. But you know what, this season's great as is right now, so let's continue on that.
Yeah, imagine if they had like Trana, Melinda, and Jasmine as like
Yeah,
traders.
right. Can you imagine? And they're like, let's
The
just go after each
conclave,
other.
the
Yeah.
conclave would just be, I don't know if they'd ever come to a decision.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be interesting to watch just to have as a season, but oof, yeah, no, it's great as is. And who knew that Melinda would be well, I mean, I watched Drag Race, so I guess I did. But yeah, there's been such some great debates so far.
Smiko says absolutely this season is definitely better between the vibe, the traitors, and the chaos of the faithfuls. Yeah, 100%. Netta's pretty clear to me because she's not as aggressive as she was in Big Brother. She's trying to be invisible as a traitor would do.
Which is yeah,
Absolutely.
that's such a giveaway to me. I like I feel like how do they not know that? How could they not spot that, you know? But maybe there's just too much going on elsewhere and it's just it's not something you think about.
Mary says maybe they think Netta's doing her Jerry Manthe redemption season. I think not enough people know who she is.
Maybe.
Netta.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's quite possible. I've seen her out in public a few times downtown Toronto, years ago now, but I mean, no one was stopping her. And and I've seen some others, from Big Brother, and there's always people around them. So I was like, oh, okay. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Has it been too many years where people just have it? It's not like she just was on, you know what I mean? That people just don't really know who she is, like you said. Perhaps, maybe, yeah.
So it's interesting that she's kind of playing possum here, or is it opossum? I can't remember. We haven't figured out which one it is.
Yeah, I think
But so she's kind of like hiding, fading in the background a little bit, and then I agree that's kind of the way that a traitor would play. But I remember she gave the advice for auditioning in person for Big Brother is to be acting as if you're a little bit drunk, so about 3 drinks in, gossiping with your best friend. So that's like how kind of animated you have to animated that you have to be to get on these shows. And so the fact that she's just playing a little bit meek, it's like it's not even how she would get on the show. So it's just very funny to me that she's not even taking her own actual advice on how to be a character on these seasons.
that's a good advice, though. I didn't hear that before. That's yeah,
It's
yeah,
good, right? Because
yeah,
you're like not too obnoxious, but like you're not just your normal self. You're just a little bit more animated and a little
yeah.
bit more like, you know,
People are like probably drawn to you at that kind of limit, right?
gossipy
Like
kind of
where they're
vibe.
just like, hey, okay, I like this person. Yeah.
So that is some advice for you guys out there from Minetta herself. So episode 4 is called A Secret Mission, and it's all about this acknowledging look that was had between Kirkland and Cedric. What did you think about this look? You gauge looks and tell.
Right. I mean, I'm glad they replayed it a few times because I was not really seeing it. It was just like some sort of like
Like,
slight, little thing or whatever for them to read into it as much as they did. It just wasn't there for me. And so I wonder, I'm like, are you just kind of like, I don't know, maybe you picked up some energy. Maybe you have to be there physically and you picked up that energy and then you just ran with it because, upon review, the look to me didn't necessarily say that. So I was a little confused.
me neither. But Trana is all over it, saying it was a look of mission accomplished. And
And
you know what? Even if it was that look of mission accomplished, it was that I didn't get out of the game. Is what I would have always have taken that
yeah,
as,
yeah. And
especially if I was in the hot seat.
I love that though, but it's just, I don't know why you'd be that outwardly saying that. Like maybe say that to people that you trust to kind of get the ball rolling on something, but just to kind of like call it out so openly is just so chaotic. And again, that just goes to kind of the theme of the season so far is just there's so many, bad faithfuls, which I love. I love watching it. I love seeing it, whatever happens, happens. But it's so fun to watch.
Well, Trana thought that she would be the one murdered at night. Why do you think that she thought she'd be murdered?
I think people get confused with the fact that, well, if I'm on to you, I'm on to the right people, they'll get rid of me right away. No, as long as there's some suspicion on you, people are going to keep you around. It's the people who are definitively faithfuls. Everyone thinks it. They're not a distraction. Those are likely the people who are going to go home unless you play in some sort of storyline, where it's like, oh, if we send this person home, then, it tells this, this, and this, and this works to our benefit. But yeah, it's the people who you need to get a little messy, not too messy to get you're voted home, but a little messy so that you
Have some
can
heat
be a
on
little
you.
suspicious, yeah, so
Mhm.
that they won't murder you. The other option too, which I've done in online games, is you need to find the traitor yourself and get under their wing. And if they think that they have all your trust and whatnot, and that you definitively do not think that they're a traitor, they'll keep you around. They'll fight for you in the conflict.
Absolutely. So maybe this is what Trana is trying to do here. She thinks that like Kirkland is no, but like I think she should be doing that though, because with them being kind of hanging out and seemingly friends at some point, and now all of a sudden they're the enemies against each other because he's a traitor. She thinks he's a traitor. I would think that hey, we're already friends. Let's maybe work together, and even if they are one is traitor, then at the end they could be able to like haha we got you and like take them out at the end. But yeah, not enough people are playing into that strategy. Seanock also didn't play into that strategy as well with Kevin and Mary Jo of it all. Like those two people had his trust and they wanted to work with him no matter what. And Mary Jo thinks that Kevin's a traitor. Okay. Seanock thinks that Mary Jo is a traitor. Okay, but work all together, get to the end, and then take out your traitors. You know what I mean?
Oh,
But
absolutely. Yeah. It really almost doesn't matter because they're being replaced. So you almost don't need to find the traitors publicly. You just as long as you know who the traitors are, because at the end, then getting good with them, because they'll just get swapped out, they'll just get replaced, and then you start all over because you don't know who it is. And it could be someone that you trust, because they've been recruited. So I don't actually think it's as much as they play up like you have to get the traders. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. If you're onto them but don't show it, even better.
it's kind of like I don't know when I made this comparison, but on The Secret or The Circle, sorry. And originally on The Circle, it was like everybody has to try to find who the catfishes are and catfish hunters, whatever. But now that the game has evolved a little bit, it doesn't matter who the
Doesn't matter.
catfishes are.
Yeah.
It's whoever I trust and it's going to be voting me high.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of maybe the way that the traders is going to start merging towards later
Mm.
seasons.
And especially with the circle too, it's like, not to get too far off track, but it's just like that's something that you can sell at the end to try to make yourself win. That like I'm real, they're a catfish, and to just throw them under the bus perhaps at the end of the final rankings, but ultimately it doesn't matter. And like this, it doesn't matter finding traders in the first several rounds. It really doesn't, because they're just going to be replaced ultimately. So I mean, sure, if there's like four traders and then if you can get down to a few, then they have to replace them instead of murdering, there's an argument for that. I get it, but I would rather take the risk, position myself well with who I think are traders, and then when I need to get rid of them nearing the end, making sure the numbers aren't overwhelmingly not in my favor, do so. you know
100%. And I kind of wish that these players figured this out a little bit. So we see a little bit more strategy here. Instead of just seeing faithfuls lose, 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 at least then they'd be losing with the intention of, gaining in the end. Also, even if we could, oh shoot, did I lose my train of thought? Lose, lose, lose. Oh, I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say. It was poignant though, I promise.
You'll remember.
Mary says they should be mechanics to find to found traitors, clues, or ways to avoid people getting recruited. I would want to be recruited probably though if I were a faithful.
Yeah, I feel
You
like
have
a
more
lot of people
power.
do. A lot of people do. I don't mind if they in future seasons or whatnot add a little something, a little something that doesn't change too much, but maybe kind of enhances something a little bit. Kind of like, are you watching the latest House of Villains?
Yes, I haven't seen. Oh, latest. No, only the first two episodes.
So I don't know what episode I'm on, 3, but there's something introduced, a little something that someone wins that gives them a bit of a safety element to it. I don't mind things like that, so it can evolve with the show.
Mhm. What I was going to say is, I also think it is a smart strategy to whittle down the faithful numbers because even if you wanted to win as a faithful, you only want to win with a couple of them because if you're going to be splitting the money, you would likely only want a few. So. And it's not the worst to be getting out faithfuls, especially if you know who the traders are. So I wish I would hear a little bit this being people's strategy.
I have a question for you. If you were right away a trader off the bat, would you genuinely work with the other traders, or would you look for an opportunity to even whittle them down?
Um, I wouldn't. I would. Hmm. I think I would want to build trust with everybody, including the traders off the bat, because I feel like if you're already kind of being a little bit sneaky, and maybe if one of the two other traders or whatever, they recognize this, like I feel like people, they could just push things back onto you, and they have just so much dirt on you that you could be in trouble. So I think I would want to establish a really good sense of trust within them, but I wouldn't be going to the, I would want to be the last trader standing in the end. So however it got me there, it might be get rid of one, recruit somebody that can easily throw under the bus again, something like that. But I definitely would want to be the last trader standing. So however I could get there. Why? What's your
That's
strategy?
bro. Oh, I mean, I feel like I'd want to work with them, but the moment that I felt that someone could turn on me or had the opportunity to, or like even the possibility down the road, I'd make sure I got them before they got me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I would be damned if like if they pushed me in front of the bus.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I think this is what Michael John is trying to avoid from happening, but I just don't think that he has the chops to be able to stop. Like the bus is like, it's just like ready to go. It's like it's right here, ready to run him over.
Yeah.
And it's just like the timing isn't
Yeah.
perfect because the faithfuls are so bad right
I
now, but
know.
they're
Yeah.
waiting to just push him in front of that
And he's
bus.
like, "Is that a bus? I think it's a bus."
I think
And we're all like, "It's a bus."
it's a bus. So yeah, I feel like we'll talk about it later, but there's a moment in this episode that's alluding to, I think, it coming.
Mm.
Dylan feels bad about Mary Jo leaving. How do you feel about Dylan and his reads this season? Because a couple episodes, he was really upset with Mike for throwing a vote on Michael John, and how dare you throw a vote on somebody like that was such a weird move, when it was the right move in the end.
Yeah, I haven't really figured him out. I honestly, at first I was like, "Oh, I feel like you're gonna go soon." And just now, I don't know. I'm just like wondering where the edit is with him and like where that's gonna go ultimately. I haven't really decided. So a little bit of an enigma for me. And just waiting to see. Just waiting to see. Because I feel like there's people who are, the loud, the bad faithfuls, obviously the traitors, and then there's like people like him who are just like somewhere in between. And I just haven't figured that out. But there's just so many personalities. And I feel like a lot of them have such bad, I don't know if they're bad reads, but they're just like picking up on things that you're gonna pick up on because of all the bad faithfuls. So it's tough. It's tough.
It's totally tough. Patrona is just loud and proud with her 100% sureness that Kirkland is a traitor. She caught the look. I mean, she's so wrong. And I can't believe how much conviction she's having with this wrong stance. What are you, I know we talked about it a little bit. Like, do you have any other thoughts about like her being so wrong and so sure?
I'm surprised that there's not more strategy there because you would never want to say like I'm certain this is it when the whole thing is based off of just vibes and feelings and maybe a look or a glance. So how can you be so certain? Wouldn't you want to give yourself an out being like, look, this is present the case. I might be wrong, but what do you all think? And then just see if that aligns with everyone else's view rather than put yourself on that pedestal being like it's you, it's you, it's you, it's you, or it's them, and risking the chance of being wrong. And then what do you have to say to that? It's just strategically, it's not there. Having said that, I hope she stays around for a very long time because that's very entertaining. But you know,
Miko says that Trana and Merlinda are calling everyone out just for the sake of it. I do wish there was a little bit more strategy, like you
yeah,
mentioned.
same thing. It's both of them. I just don't see the strategy, which is entertaining to watch. But as players for themselves, I'm just like, what are you thinking? What do
How
you think?
would you deal or like manage Trana if you were in the game with her?
I'd be okay with people putting themselves out there and using people as my pawns to kind of like point out my suspicions on others or spread the word or the thought process. But, I think if it's someone that I felt close with, I would try to give them some good advice just to like lay low a little bit, Tell if I was more sided with Trana, I would be like, let's, let Melinda do the talking. Or if I was more with Melinda, I'd be like, let Trana do the talking. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't put myself on a limb for either of them if they are playing like that to begin with. So.
So Nick wants to cut the tension a little bit, so he decides to do a back tuck on entering the breakfast nook. Would that work for you? Would that help break the tension? A back tuck?
Well, we've seen it a couple times at this point. I feel
Yeah.
like very impressive. I just be like, why you keep doing that? But I would just see that, and I would see the hair, and I'd be like, you're very attractive. You don't need all of that. I mean, just what I mean. But I mean, listen, if that's your personality and energy, then go for it. But it wouldn't cut the tension for me. But I would just be, it would be a little, maybe even a little suspicious for me, perhaps. Just someone who's, you know, putting
Well, it
themselves out
doesn't
there. I don't
seem
know.
okay. He doesn't seem scared or worried. So maybe he's clocked that his sister is a traitor and is going to protect him. Maybe because we haven't
Mm,
heard him talk a little bit anymore about the fact that whether or not he thinks she is or she is not a traitor.
mhm.
Only the first episode there was any sort of mention of that, if I'm remembering correctly. And so maybe he's clocked that she's a traitor and knows that she's going to protect him at least from murder. Because he hasn't done anything. I don't. Who does he have friends? Who does he talk to? Does he throw in
Well,
theories? Like, what's going on?
that's why I'd be suspicious
Yeah.
because of the, like you said, the comfort level there. I would just be like, aren't you, aren't you a little worried? Aren't you a little concerned? Like, why aren't you, yeah. But I mean, maybe that's just who he is. But you're right. We don't know. The edit. Who knows? He might have been like, after the season, he might be like, the moment the after that. I knew the moment that it's just, or after episode one, I knew it. So, who knows?
We see at the breakfast table Aaron giving another perspective to Trana and the rest of the guests about how Cedric and Kirkland could have been exchanging nooks, but it could be because he saved him. Like he didn't go home in this banishment. And Trina's like, absolutely no, that's not true. You can trust me. Like, he was being satisfied. No, he was giving a knowing look because of what he has done as a traitor. And I was like, I wouldn't be able to play with Trina, honestly, because that was a very, very sound argument as to why she could be off in her assessment of that look. And the fact that she shut it down completely, I'd be like, yeah, I can't work with you. I don't think I could work with her
Yeah.
in the
It's,
game. I'll watch her, but I can't work with her.
yeah. It's just like I said, like that certainty is just so bewildering because, you know, I don't think I would ever be that confident unless they were like, unless I overheard them but speaking of that, like overhearing people, it just seems like the opportunity is there, and you never hear about people talking about like, well, these people were, going down the hall together and then this happened and that makes sense. Like no one ever pieces that together. Because clearly at some point, other than just the conclave, you would suspect that the traders are, gathering at least a twosome at some point and having certain conversations. I mean, we're not there yet, but we see what's kind of happening at the end of this episode and what will happen in the next episode. I wonder if anyone picks up on anything, but we don't ever hear that.
No, and that's something that I would be clocking in my book at the end of the day. I'd be like, okay, who did I see have conversations with whom and what did it look like they were talking about? You know what I mean? And like I would just be putting together every single group that I was witnessing.
Oh, I would be ear to the door.
Well, okay. Absolutely. I know you would be. I don't know if I'd be too
I'd be
nervous,
like
probably.
sneaking around, just doing all like Angela, Big Brother, you know what I mean? Like just kind of, uh, you know, not obvious that anyone else could see me, but very kind of, I maybe even take someone else and be like, hey, let's go, you know?
Let's stand here and
Yeah.
listen.
And like not really. And then if anyone catches us, we're like just talking one on one. But yeah, I would just be trying to overhear a little bit more because that's kind of where that would be the only thing would happen that where I was certain about something, is if I physically overheard them say that they're a traitor. Um, and other than that, I couldn't like trying to just put myself out there and say it's you for certain. So
100 from a knowing look. Mhm.
Yeah, it's wild.
So Kirkland decides to point his fingers back at Trina and Melinda. I mean, you could tell that he's just doing that because they're coming for him. To me, it didn't seem like he was really going to be getting behind those accusations. I think he was just being like, "Oh, it's you." What did you think? Did you think he
Well,
was being?
I just mean if someone's coming for you, your only explanation is like, well, it's not me, so it's has to be you. Like, why are you coming for me so hard? Unless you're a
Like,
traitor and
how do
trying
you
to.
know 100% unless you're a traitor?
Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, I think it's a fair assumption when because of how they're coming for him, not just defensively, but just like it makes sense because you're like, why are you so certain? And I know it's not me, so it maybe it's probably you.
So Enoch and Pac-Man are the last two to enter the breakfast area. Who did you think was going to be murdered?
Oh my gosh! So I watched this a little while ago. Was I surprised? Um, no, I wasn't. I wasn't surprised. Yeah, I was suspecting that because it was again. It's like like I said, you want it to be someone that is definitively a faithful, or you perceive other people to be as a faithful, or who's leading the pack or gaining some sort of group, and you want to take those people out. So I mean, it made sense. I think at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And Enoch, we know he's a faithful, he's loyal, he stands up for what he believes in. Absolutely. Um, I probably would have gone for Pac-Man because he's not bringing anything. And you're creating a TV show, but game wise, I think that Enoch was the right choice because he is more influential. And if he gets influential on the right person, it could be dangerous for them,
Yeah,
right? Like, yes, he had bad reads, but he was able to get everybody on his side to take out Mary Jo. So
which could be more dangerous, even. You know what I mean? Yeah, because what if one of
exactly,
those bad reads is a good read and it's you, and then
yeah.
it's like, yeah,
But I just kind of for entertainment's sake, I wish it was Pac-Man because
yeah,
he's said a couple of lines here. I don't even know if he's had a confessional. Has he? I don't remember him even having one
not that I
confessional.
can think of, but yeah, yeah,
He said a couple lines on the show though. So unfortunately, he's not been bringing the entertainment to me. So he could have gone, but I do understand them taking out Enoch. So Enoch is murdered. They say that he was charismatic. People listen to him, which is all very true. We see him getting his letter, and I feel bad. I just feel bad for these guys. Like, I know it's the beginning of the game, but I wish there was something different on how people got murdered or something. I haven't workshopped this or thought about it, but it just kind of sucks. Like, I'd rather get banished than murdered. This is something that Mary Jo was saying. She's like, I'm happy I got murdered because or banished because at least then I could fight for myself and I can try to say I can do something. But getting murdered in your sleep, like you can't stop it from happening
yeah.
other than like a shield. But you wish, is there some mechanic we can bring into this game to just
You
make the
know,
murder a little bit more?
the thing that I'm thinking of when you say that just in this moment is there was a show called Murder in Small Town X. I think that's what it was called, and it was many years ago, like over 20, maybe 25 years ago. And I feel like there would be two people up at the end, and they had to like one would go one path or like some storyline, the other would go the other, and then there'd be one of them would be murdered. And I'm like, did they pick those paths? So I wonder if like, maybe there could be like some sort of something like that, like where you just put two people up for murder, but then they have to like pick their own fate, or maybe one person up for murder, and maybe it's a special round, and then I don't know. So it's just something where there's a little bit more of a opportunity to save themselves, perhaps not every time, but
Yeah, you're making me think of something too. Like, what if they narrow it down to the final two people? So it's between Pac-Man and Enoch, and maybe they have to do some sort of challenge, or they have to do a favor for the traitors. And if they do this favor, then they'll be able to stay, or something that, like, if somebody does something better, they get to stay in the game, but know that they were close to being murdered. You know what I mean? And maybe they can't say anything to anyone that they were close to being murdered or something. I just wish there was something that they could do that could save them from being murdered in the end, because it's just like It just sucks. Being murdered sucks.
Yeah, I think the argument is like if you position yourself correctly,
Of course.
you wouldn't be murdered to begin with, and that's what you can do. And I feel like having multiple people would kind of give away the thought process of the traders, but at the same time, maybe if the traders knew that, they could play into it and create something else. So it would be a fun it'd be a
Little
fun
twist.
round,
Mhm.
like one round that they have or something, right? So
So Mary thinks, what about two people get sent to a challenge to be murdered? Exactly.
yeah, if you watch like Dragula,
I want to see
I don't know.
not every. I haven't seen a lot of that show,
So
but mhm.
Dragula, the two bottom people, instead of like a lip sync for your life kind of thing, they just kind of do a challenge, where usually it's like a horror themes kind of challenge or whatever. The like one last week was like a bunch of piercings, and whoever can kind of handle the challenge better, and endure more, is lives on, and then the other person is murdered. So I mean, that would be a fun, yeah, like episode, or maybe once per season or something like that, where it's a little different.
Mary is suggesting you both have been poisoned and need to find the cure before, but only one cure is left. Like that's fun. That's fine. Like I like the idea of being able to save yourself. Mary is suggesting it's AI arena style. So I don't think it should be every round, but one or two rounds in a season I think would be kind of fun. Just to
Yeah.
know that you can stop yourself from being murdered.
And honestly, something like that will probably happen because at the end of the day, like the traders, it's funny because the challenges aren't super exciting usually because everyone wants to win the money. It's not
Mhm.
like there's someone there like the mole where someone's sabotaging it and you don't want the others to see. So it would add a little bit more excitement. But I think at the end of the day, traders is like a character, game.
Mhm.
It's all about the different, so the cast has to be really strong to really make it interesting. But I would like to see that for a round or something, just to throw it out. I mean, then they do have different things. But something like that would be interesting where a murder can prevent it even after they've been notified that they're, going to happen. So I mean, they kind of do have the what do they call it? Like where there's like three of them up or something, like Murder Row or whatever
Yeah. Death Row, they did it
that's
in
what,
the first
yeah.
episode and
But
similar things to that.
if they took maybe that episode and then, get those people to compete and then maybe one of them removes themselves or something.
I mean, didn't we think that that was going to happen? Like I
Yeah.
did. I was like, okay, so one of them is going to get off for sure, but nope.
Yeah. So maybe, elaborate on that a little bit more perhaps next season. Maybe we'll see.
Well, Hinoch says that on his way out that the faithfuls have to unite. They must get together and work as a team. It is a team game. Do you believe this? Do you agree with Hinoch here?
Um, no, at the core of it's an individual game, but it's a social game. And, socially and sure, as a team at times, like Survivor, you have to work together to eliminate other individuals. But when it comes down to it, you're not winning, necessarily as a team. You can, usually it's more likely if it's not individually, it's like maybe a duo or a trio, but that's ideal. That's great for some. Like you said, you might want all the money. So, so, it might not be ideal for you, but yeah, I would think of it more individually and just selfishly, but not let everyone else know that I was thinking that way.
For the
Yeah.
team,
Yeah.
always.
Always, of course.
Always. Trana says that she will eat a literal crow if she is wrong. Now, do you think that anybody has brought her a crow to her doorstep yet?
I'm like, get the knife and fork ready.
She needs to eat it. Like she needs to eat crow big time
Yeah.
after this episode. She should do a TikTok about her eating crow.
I can't wait to see kind of the response to all of that, like more thoroughly throughout it play out and just kind of you know, see where that goes. And then it's like, how then can you accuse anyone else in the future? You know what I mean? Like
She
without,
used a lot of her social cloud. What am I thinking? My God, I'm brain dead today. Her social capital
mm,
on getting out Kirkland, and now knowing that he's not a traitor, and she were 100% sure you are going to be eating crow. How is anybody going to believe when you're 100% sure about anything now?
yeah, exactly. And then it's like,
But it also shows to me that she's not a traitor. like likely, and like and that would be wild as a trader to go that hard, be wrong, say that there's no way that you're wrong, you're 100% right, and like playing as a traitor, like that's a bold way to go. So I think she might be murdered next
Murder
because
potential. Yeah, I was gonna
I would
say
murder her.
same thing.
Sorry.
You lose the ability to be perceived as a possible traitor when you're not. You lose the trust of the other faithfuls, and where again you just fall into that category of like, well, now everyone thinks you're just a faithful and a bad one. So, it's unless you continue to be loud and like messy, which I would probably do if I was her, because I would be like, I'm going to get murdered unless I'm a distraction for the rest of this game. So you need to stay a distraction. I think that's your only hope.
I mean, maybe that is their strategy. Because Kirkland is really upset that he feels that the people, his friends, being Melinda and Trana, they don't believe him. And I actually felt quite bad for Kirkland because we know that he's telling the truth, and I feel like his actions to me are lining up with someone that's a faithful, and like he just looks so deflated and sad that they're coming for him so strong, and he's not a traitor.
Yeah, there's probably nothing worse than, we've all been in situations where you're like, I'm being honest, I'm the one telling the truth, and there's someone else who's not, and someone chooses to believe them over you, and it's just like bewildering. So, especially when you're playing a game for money and it's like, real friends, it's yeah, it's a tough situation, but that's what you signed up for. So part of the game.
True, true. Trina is holding court and convincing everyone that it's Cedric and Kirkland. And I feel like they already ruled out Kirkland as being a traitor. So, sorry, ruled out Cedric as being a traitor. So now Kirkland and Cedric are traitors. Like, but that's one thing that always confused me about all of these games. And now it could be that they're not showing us in the edit. But why? How don't people take past evidence and facts and use it from week to week, day to day, episode to episode? Like, if this ruled out this from being this on week 2 or episode 2, that is still something that could rule things out week
I
4.
know. People need their Excel sheets. I also find that like in certain seasons as well, people forget something that happened in episode 2 where someone was highly suspicious, and then because something else happened in episode 3, let's say, they just let that person slide for so long. And I'm like, why aren't we revisiting that? And I don't even think it's an edit thing, but it happens a lot. And I only say this too because again, I've played online traders games, and it happens in real life like that too. Like it's where people just really take it week by week and often forget a lot of what's gone on and just aren't, piecing it all together like that. So I don't know.
It's
I,
wild to me because I'd be like, week one. Okay, I'd be like, Mike, why'd you tell me? Give me more evidence as to why you thought it was Michael John. Tell me more. Let's revisit this because anytime somebody has suspicion on them, I think it's something that should be revisited. It shouldn't just be dropped because he shared a personal part of his life, you know?
mhm.
And so I just find it wild that people are not using this as like, okay, we're not going to deal with it now, but we're going to deal with it later. I'm not going to introduce new people into the mix unless somebody's been recruited. Then that's a different
Yeah.
story.
It's wild, but it's a common theme, I feel like, in this game for some reason. So,
Feel bad though. Kirkland overhears Trana talking about him with the group, and we then hear Cedric that does not think that Kirkland is a traitor because Mary Jo was a faithful, and I was like, yes,
yeah.
Cedric, you may be loud, but this is you're onto something
But
here.
because he's a bad faithful, he's not going to be able to get people behind him in that way of thinking. Like uh,
I mean, I know he's a bad faithful, but I just feel like he's truthful. Like I don't feel like he's playing in a suspicious way to me.
no, I feel like if people knew him better, you know what I mean? They would understand, and it would be like, and they would be able to, that would be an asset. But just in this group, it's a huge distraction, and people aren't going to, I mean, he's doing a good job just being a distraction, so you can stay in the
Stays in
game
the
that
game.
way, but it's just not going to help find traders if that's what you're trying to do.
So Michael, John, and Melinda are talking, and her top four are like nobody. They're actually traitors. Do you think Melinda's just playing poorly, or does she have a better idea of what's going on? And she's like, is she
I
just
don't think she has any
terrible?
clue. Yeah, I do.
Like,
And I like watching it, but I think it's just, it's just the way that it is. It's like
she thinks Mike is a traitor. Mike is so far from being a traitor to me.
I just feel like Melinda goes with her gut and is just convinced that like her guts got her to this point in her life, and you know what I mean? And then just, but you're wrong. And so yeah, right? Just, just going with it, just vibes for sure.
Well, I'm not happy though with her coming after Kirkland so hard because like I guess it could be because I know Kirkland in real life, but like he just is not giving off traitor to me and giving off someone that needs to be yelled at in this fashion. And like I just don't feel like he deserves that. I don't think anybody deserves really to be yelled at, but I just don't feel like how the three of them, so Melinda, Trena, and Jasmine, is warranted in anything that Kirkland has been doing other than defending himself over not being a traitor and swearing on his family because it's true. He's not a traitor.
Yeah, and they're like, well, and they're like, wait, who's the person who said if you're actual traitor and you swore on your family, that's messed up? Did they end up voting for him? I can't remember.
Say again? Which part?
There was someone who said if you're an actual traitor, then that's messed up because you swore on your family. I forget who said that to him though.
I don't remember. I've written it down, I'm sure, but I
And
don't
then
remember.
and then did they vote for him? Oh no, he's murdered. So but did they ever vote for him?
I don't remember who it was. Probably.
Wait, who was it? It was a girl.
Was it Jasmine?
No, I don't think so. Or were they sitting outside somewhere maybe? Wait, I'm trying to remember.
Jasmine said that, I believe, to Netta, no?
It was to him. It was to Kirkland
Oh.
outside, and they were like, "If you," because he swore on his family,
Oh,
right?
it was at the end of last episode.
If I knew I was going to be here today, I would have taken notes. I'm sorry. It was outside, and they were like, it was someone who said it to him, and I'm just wondering who that was that accused him of that, and
What
like
would
said,
have
and if you swore on your family and you are, that's messed up. But anyway,
I might have been, was it Netta that said it was at the very end? Okay, I'll see if I can, while we're talking, if I can get to that part
they're
of the
like
episode.
outside on. It's right after he said it. It's right after he
Yeah,
finished
so it's
said
right
it.
before the end of the episode, after the round table of last episode. Ooh, Mike, what? Hold on, what's going on here? Miko says, and Jasmine's so obsessed with Netta, like bestie vibes. Yes, that's good for Netta. It was Mike. Okay.
Was it? I thought it was a maybe. Yeah, I'd have to rewatch.
Oh, you know
Um,
what? That's starting to ring true a little bit. Mike. Okay, I could see that. Let's see, the Traitors Canada last episode. Yeah, but I couldn't see it being Mike for sure.
but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with you. I feel like it was pretty obvious that he was not the case, but I think if I was a faithful, I would be just targeting the distractions right now. I'd be like, I don't care if you are a traitor or not, get out of here. Um,
Well, yes, and then at least do that and say that you're doing that in the confessionals.
yeah, no, I mean, I would even tell other people. I'd be like, you're a bad traitor. I need to get you out. And then I feel like the traitors are like, would keep you around because you're not going for them. You're just going for bad faithfuls. So
And they just have to be like good faithfuls, and
yeah, yeah,
it'll be fine.
easy. Just keep playing their game, right? So
Okay, so Jasmine's fighting right now with him, and I think it is Mike. Mike's there.
let's see.
Jasmine doesn't want to waste her breath on him anymore. Netta's more confused than anything.
That
If you were a traitor,
yeah,
I think it was Gail.
that's who I was talking about.
It's the back of her head. So, or is it Lauren? It might have been Lauren. I can't. Oh, it's Lauren. Yeah.
And who did Lauren vote for?
That round
Yeah,
this week. Okay, let's just
I remember.
see. So yes, it was Lauren that said it. And let's see who she voted for.
Need my wiki up.
Oh yeah, I guess we could, that might be faster. Wiki, 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 wiki.
Let's just have her
Okay.
voting history.
Are you faster?
Probably not. Cool.
Was she before or after this? Oh, there. Oh, there's a vote. I need to know this now.
I know. It's just bothering me.
She said they're saying it was Cedric. That look. Okay, she voted. Oh, it's too small. I think she voted for Mary Jo.
Cedric. She voted for Cedric. Oh, no,
It
wait.
says Mary Jo here.
Mary.
Last episode.
What episode? This episode? That was episode
I'm watching episode 3.
3. She voted for Mary Jo.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't. She never voted for Kirkland. I'm looking at her voting history right now. She never voted for Kirkland.
Got it. And this week she voted for Cedric.
It worked. Yeah, it worked for someone. Okay. I mean, I was like, all right. I just wanted to see if she was. I was like, I know it's a girl. Yeah. So, it did work. I don't. How do you feel about that? People. I don't like when people do that. I feel like it's an unfair kind of, whether they're lying or telling the truth, because you have the Johnny Fairplays out there and whatnot who will swear on their family and all this other stuff. But like, I don't like when someone kind of brings in the, like, I swear on my kids, I swear on my wife. You know what I mean? Any of that stuff. I don't like
Okay.
it.
I don't like it if it's used by somebody that's lying. Because usually the person that's doing it is like, in a Kirkland situation, is like, I need you to understand, like, I am being honest and true. And if someone's lying about it, that makes it a little more risky. So, which would in turn lead me to believe that it should not be used at all,
At all. Yeah, because it's
then
like,
it brings in
yeah,
the
you're
icky.
either a terrible person or you're telling the truth, and I don't want to have to assume one thing over the other in that situation. It feels like it's a little crossing the line for me. I don't like when people bring it up. When I've definitely seen people bring it up in other shows, and people are like, "Don't ever say that again. Don't use that. Don't say it. I'll believe you this time, and I don't ever want to hear that again." I've heard people respond like that, and that's probably would be my response too. I don't love it, but in this case, it worked for that vote anyway. Lauren's vote.
Oh, hi, Matt. Matt here says, I've heard production tells you not to do that.
Good.
Yeah. I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that he's just, because he's a faithful, he just wants to do something to be truthful. And like I would never swear on my family unless I was, but I could also understand why production would say, don't do that, because it's just, yeah, it's keep the family in this swearing on things outside of this particular game.
I don't think other people should bring up your family, and I don't think you should bring up your family. You know what I mean?
And if they do bring up their family, then
like
it's kind of fair game for them to be able to use it in any way that they want at that point, which is also kind of can get icky.
Like, I mean, tell your, if you have a story, whatever, but I don't mean in that way, in like a leverage or in a little like a betting or like this is my position kind of a way in Traitors.
Yeah. So I don't know if I put this in the same category, but did you feel about Michael John using his history to deepen his connection with some of the people in his vehicle, but then also kind of absolve him from any deflect any suspicion around him as him being a traitor? So how would you feel about that?
Yeah, it's, there's a line, and I feel like it's let's say, I mean, I don't know, I can't come up with an example, but if you know someone's been affected by whatever, and then you make up a lie to, endear yourself with them by saying you also had dealt with whatever the situation is, that's gross to me. I would never do that in a game. However, if you're like, oh, this is something I can bond with them with, and this is truth, and that's their truth, and I could build on that relationship with this commonality, even though it might be something terrible or whatever, yeah, I would, and it is taking advantage of that thing, but like, it is something you genuinely both share, so be it. So it's a little bit of murky waters there, but you know, the whole family thing, like we said, I don't like that. So
Hi, House Amazon. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Do you have any comments or something to say? Let us know. So, yeah, Kirkland is talking about Trent and Melinda and Jasmine being over the top, which we kind of discussed. They are being a little bit over the top to me, just as we mentioned, without having any solid evidence as to why they're being so wrong and strong. So I really was feeling bad with Kirkland for Kirkland. Gail does not think that Kirkland is a traitor. And I'm like, Gail seems to be very logical. And I don't know why more people are not believing her, because she's very logical and quite methodical and level-headed with how she approaches certain situations. She's not popping off. It just seems like somebody that I would want to strategize with, discuss things that are being seen. And she says that she wants Nick to talk here today because he's been too quiet. And like we've already discussed, that how Nick has been acting would be sus to me. So I'm into Gail and what would be on Gail's side or team or strategy vibes with her.
yeah. Do you find her, like, how approachable do you find Gail? Do you think there's people who just don't think, is it like a warmth issue? Is it just I mean, I would be the same thing. I would see someone who's very seemingly strategic, or the thought process would probably meld. Is that the word I'm looking for? Would like really kind of be similar to what I would think and how I would want to play and whatnot. So I would gravitate towards Gail
Me
as well.
too.
Um, but it does beg the question, maybe why aren't people kind of going with
I
those ideas? Or
Well, it seems as though Gail is not one that wants to just be loud to be loud. And so it could just be competing with loud personalities. Because like I definitely wouldn't be go. I might defend Kirkland in some of those situations, but I don't know if I would stop them from doing very much. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I just let them have the floor and okay, take people down that road. It's not me. So yeah, I think I might be playing it similar to her, but I would be working with her.
Yeah, I think so too, for me.
And you know what? I think maybe people are a little bit scared or intimidated by the louder ones. And so, they kind of don't want to do their own thing because maybe they'll be called out, or, they just don't want to be put in the hot seat in that way. And so maybe it's a little bit of an intimidation thing from the other people, and wanting to do what they want them to do. Maybe.
Well, like we had seen this season already, there's a lot of landmines in like with people's personalities, and it would, I think if I was in the game, I'd feel apprehensive, just knowing that if I said the wrong thing, looked the wrong way, I'd have, people just coming for me for no reason, because they've been wrong and haven't gotten traitors. And so, it's tough, but it's great to watch.
Miko says Kirkland was in the same position as Noel in the Traitors New Zealand season 2. I don't remember who Noel is.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look up. Well,
Find
I
the
did
photo.
watch it. Traitors New Zealand.
On the way to the challenge, Kirkland is thinking that Melinda is 100% a traitor, especially since she has no basis to point her finger at him. And Melinda says in her confessional, I've been watching you. Was she talking about Mike or Kirkland here? I'm like, if you've been watching Kirkland, you would likely see that he's not a traitor.
I just looked up the Traitors New Zealand season 2, and because I did watch it, and I know what you're talking about, and I agree.
Can you share your screen and so I can see who you're
It
talking
was
about?
like the young guy with the curly hair who was like, is he American?
Go to present at the bottom and then share this little page.
Oh, sorry. I feel like he's American, right?
I don't remember him. He lives in New York, says Miko.
Hold on, let me pull it up for you here. Oh, not that.
Oh.
Can you see?
Yeah.
That's
Oh my, I still don't even really remember it. Oh yes, 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 yes. Oh, I felt bad for him actually because
right.
yeah, because he was like definitely not. Oh, I guess you moved it. Uh, was not a traitor, but then he was just getting lumped
Such
in.
a tough situation. Yeah.
Yeah, because when they're the three of them were had to dig the graves or whatever, and I can't remember exactly how everything went down, but I remember he ended up looking like he
Yeah.
was a traitor.
Was in the hot seat. It made him look like a traitor, and then was like kind of carried along for a while, and then done.
He almost quit. I don't remember that. I'm almost quitting, but that sucks. Though I feel bad. I think it's also because he was really young, and so it affected him emotionally as well. But yeah, I could see that comparison for sure. So at the mission, they're at a place that had all these knickknacks and trinkets, and I don't know if it was a store or if they just put a lot of like nice junk in a room. But they need to have 5 volunteers, and with these 5 volunteers having a chance to win a mysterious weapon. I know the answer to this, but would you be one of those 5 volunteers?
Yeah.
Exactly. You're there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jonathan would be one of those 5 volunteers.
Yeah. Always. Yeah. For sure. I mean, here's the thing. I want to do everything. I'm one of those people who are like, I'm playing the game. If there's an advantage or if there's something I could potentially win, absolutely. But just to experience the whole thing anyway. So yeah.
So they were thinking that the 5 different volunteers, since they didn't know what they were going to be doing, they should cover a bunch of different categories. So someone that's good at memory, puzzles, logic, math, and reasoning were kind of the categories that they were thinking. Is there any other categories that they're missing that they should have maybe considered for having one of these players be?
Ooh, I don't know. You tell me.
I mean,
I
I
don't
think it's
know.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I definitely they covered more than they needed to for sure because it wasn't that challenging. We'll say what the challenge was. So in each box, there is going to be an item or not an item, and each person of the 5 will come up, look, and see what is in or not in the box, and then describe it for their fellow contestants. And then they have to decide whether or not they think that he is lying and there is actually something inside the box or not in the box. They just need to just determine whether or not he's telling the truth. I thought this was an interesting, you know, game to play. How did you find it as a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, a little similar to Netflix Mole season 1, where they like went somewhere and then had to like tell if like a lie about the story or something like that. It's interesting. I mean, again, I watched this episode like
Five
the
days.
day it came out, so I'm on my memory, but someone really understood the assignment. Um
Mhm.
and you know what I mean? I was like, thank you. When I was watching, I was like, that's how you're supposed to do it. I can't remember, it was a guy. Can't remember who it was at the moment, but yeah, it was interesting. It felt a little different. And again, it felt like, a new season, new challenges. I was like, okay, here we go. And I feel like I hadn't seen this before, right? Because usually they're used to like copying, other
Yeah,
seasons. And I'm
it
like,
was new
I haven't seen
for us.
this. So yay. Like, yeah, I was excited about that.
I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting how it would give intel on how people lie, how people tell the truth. I think is helpful for them to be able to detect traitors or
Yes.
detect liars. Anyways, I thought it was all around a good game for information for everybody. And so I like that because I know a lot of the comments with say the challenges in general, it's like there's nobody sabotaging anything. There's everybody wants to win the challenge, so who cares? Like we don't really need the challenge.
Yeah,
We don't
other
really
than like winning
a
a
shield.
shield or something, it's almost pointless. Because yeah, you don't really win. They don't really do the whole like you don't go to the armory anymore, right? So it's yeah, it adds something. I agree with you. It's the ability to kind of assess that person's deception level or what they're capable of, and give that person the ability to make it look like they're terrible at lying. If that might be an option too. So yeah, it was good.
So each correct guess is going to be $2,000. Kirkland is one of the 5 people that is going to be playing, and Shredda is not happy that Kirkland has an opportunity to get a mysterious weapon. So he was describing a dive helmet. He was quite descriptive. He kept on looking back in the box to get more information to tell it to the group. And they deduced that he was being truthful, and he was. I wrote Trana rolls her eyes to, I guess it was, I don't know if it was to Cedric or to Kirkland, but she definitely rolled her eyes. But he was being truthful. Like, leave him alone, Trana. Cedric is next, and he talks about spikes and an amusement park, and the group doesn't think that there's anything in there. But he was telling the truth, but he was just really bad at describing a pufferfish in a carousel or a merry-go-round.
Yeah, and then there was a cut to he's like, I don't know what a pufferfish is. I'm like, really? But yeah, I mean, like the telltale signs of someone kind of not telling the truth is normally an over description of things, saying too much. So which we didn't like we saw a mix of here, so it was really interesting.
When Kira was going, she was looking up rather than looking down into the box. I didn't really fully understand the rules. I had to rewind because I was like, do you still get money if they guess that there's nothing in the box and there isn't? And they do. I learned.
Yeah, and that's who it was who understood the assignment, where it was like, so it's this where you just like instantly knew. Yeah, because I'm like, there's no way you could have looked at it for half a second and then been that descriptive with what was going on there. So
Exactly. I was like, oh, you're looking up to think about what you're going to tell them about. So Miko says the chameleon, Kira is like a chameleon. She blends in so well with the faithfuls, especially during the challenges. I think I think the show is definitely showing her in her best moments. So if she isn't doing super well, they're not showing that of her at this point. But I agree from what we've seen, she definitely blends in well with the faithfuls. And I'm just shocked that we're not hearing, and like, I would just be like, she's just a bit too good, isn't she? Like, where is that conversation?
yeah, but it's like she's just so likable, I feel like, and I do think she kind of goes into with the mentality as I would that, no, I'm a faithful, like almost convince yourself, you know what I mean? And yeah, she's just really good. Like I don't see any tells or anything. And I mean, ultimately, you need to be on your A game because you need to fool your brother. So and if you are, like, you deserve that money. So,
Nick says it's 4x5x7, and it's a gray radio with 25 knobs, AM, FM, and 10 other knobs. And they think that he's telling the truth, and they think they were wrong because he's like, there's too many knobs for it to be truthful.
yeah, I didn't understand. I didn't rewind, but I was like, I don't even remember how many knobs he said, but he was,
And
it
25 for
was
one of
like,
them, and then 10, I think, for the other one set of
okay.
knobs.
I was like, I'm like, that's it. That's all your that was your thing. It was just, there's too many knobs. But I mean, yeah, true. I guess if you're saying that many.
Well, I didn't think that it was an obvious lie because, okay, yeah, maybe 25 knobs, but like, what if there's tiny little knobs, whatever? Like, that seems like it could
Mhm.
be a
Right.
possibility.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
things have been kind of odd. Like, they
Weird, yeah.
haven't been like perfect. Like, they've been, the mask was on top of a cat or whatever. It could have been. Anyway, so I think that for somebody that was like, oh, I can't believe that I messed this up. I thought it was being so obvious. I think he could have been a little bit more obvious. What would you have said in differently so that it would be more obvious?
I mean, like, again, I need to go back and really fully understand the dynamics of the game because I don't think I even did when watching it. But if I mean, how blatant can you be? Um, so I don't know. I mean, I think you could just contradict yourself and
He could, if he had said there is exactly 1 million knobs on this
right. I
thing.
mean, like there's 3 billion. It's like obviously not. So I just didn't understand like what you could and couldn't say necessarily and like where you could go with it. Yeah, but maybe like a quick contradict yourself or do the whole quick glance like she did, and just something along those lines, or say like, because didn't he describe them like it's okay, like 12 inches across, or about 3 inches long. And I mean, if you were
He
in the
said like
audience,
12 feet long.
yeah, if you were in the audience and you knew that I had no idea what I was talking about with measurements, you'd be like, he's lying. He doesn't know those. Like, he doesn't understand that. I'd be like, the circumference is, and he'd be like, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that. It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So he said things that were maybe a little
believable.
bit
I mean,
abnormal, but it's possible with what they were doing.
yeah, yeah, and it felt like he, I thought. I mean, it felt like he knew what he was talking about. Like, I thought it was, a real thing.
Well, I was just like, oh, I wonder what this looks like. That's
And
what I was thinking.
and because like the knob amount skimmed over my brain, maybe I blanked out for a second, but I'm like, I wonder if, because of, I was just focused on the dimensions that he was mentioning first, that maybe that's what happened to them too. Like, they were just like, oh, okay, I can, yeah,
I mean, I definitely was picturing the
yeah,
dimensions. When he said 25 knobs, I was like, okay, that's a lot, but I could make it be possible.
tiny ones, yeah,
Yeah,
like 5 rows of five, like, you know what I mean?
it's not that
True,
outlandish.
true.
Like, especially with those measurements, 4 by 5 by 7. That's like something like this big. Like, it's not that crazy. Anyways, he was shocked that they got it wrong. Especially because he looked around the object, which was also something that they garnered as a tell for being truthful, is that like trying to see it from different angles and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
he was doing too good at being truthful while lying. Or yeah, you know what I mean. Melinda is next. It talks about a sea creature with 10 tentacles. I don't know if they're tentacles, but they're legs. But because I was like, is this a lie? Because you say tentacles, and it should be 8 because it's going to be an octopus of some sort. But they're on the East Coast. They said they believe that she is telling the truth, and they were correct. But it was a lobster on top of something else. Lobsters don't have tentacles, right? Just legs.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, so
So I would have thought it was a lie.
yeah, who knows? It was a tough game.
Well, in turn, they made $6,000, and Nick and Cedric won the weapon. So they're all in the car ride back, and they're discussing the weapon holders, etc., etc. With Cedric and Nick staying behind to receive what their prize is for this game. So they get a shield. Either get a shield that obviously protects them from murder, or they get a dagger, which means an extra vote at the round table. Which one would you have chosen?
Um, there's just too many people. I don't think an extra vote really comes into play at this point in the game. So I'd
Mhm.
rather shield, even though I would hope that I'd be playing well enough to not necessarily need one. But yeah.
I agree. I would have taken the dagger as well. So both of them.
Wait, you
Sorry,
would
no,
have
I'm
taken
taking
the.
the shield
I
as
was
well.
like, you're gonna take the dagger. I'm
I'm
like,
taking
yeah,
the
like, go ahead.
shield. I'm taking the shield. The dagger. I don't need the dagger right now. If it's one vote, I don't. I can get the one vote. I think. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. One's not enough.
You need
To...
that down at like final four or something, where it's like it's definitely a numbers game. So they both take the shield, Nick and Cedric. So while they're on their way back, Nick and Cedric talk about what they're going to say, and they decided, because Nick wants to say something at the round table, that he will explain what they got and what the situation was when they get there. And Cedric agrees that they're not going to say anything until the round table, and Nick can go first. We see Kira defending Nick's reaction and being like, "Oh, he's being. I could tell that he's being truthful." And I was like, her defending her brother is probably what's going to end up outing her, I think. But I like seeing it. I like seeing her doing this, but I do worry for her.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line, because if you need to defend him later on, coming out of left field, maybe having never said anything about him the whole game, would be the more obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind little moments, as long as you pick and choose them, which make people think like, oh, you probably like them, or you probably like trust them, but not too much. So it's tough. It's tough. But yeah, definitely, like, you want to see a little bit of it, because if you avoid speaking about him, saying his name entirely, they'll think you're either, both traitors, or when the moment comes where you need to kind of save him, it will just look way too suspicious. So it's tough. Yeah.
I have an eye on this, relationship. I want to see if it's going to screw her over or not.
It's a good dynamic to have. I mean, I'm glad that they did this. So
Miko says yes, especially with MJ still around, wanting to take out Nick. Who's MJ? Because anytime I was saying MJ, I was thinking Mary Jo. Melinda?
no, Melinda Verga is the thing.
No.
Mary Jo is
Mary
MJ
Jo's
as far
gone.
as I was concerned. Yeah.
Michael John! Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
Michael.
Michael John. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Michael
because
John.
Michael John, and then there's Mike, right? So it's Michael John, MJ, sure. See, but
Okay,
like, yeah, Mary Jo, MJ. That's what
so
I.
the last time that when Miko said MJ, I said Mary Jo, but maybe they're talking about Michael John. But it made sense, I think, in the end. So I don't know. All right, so Kevin, we see him talking to Michael John about Kirkland being a faithful, and tells him that the traitor could go after each other. And Michael John is like dumbfounded. Was he lying there, or was he actually shocked at the fact that a traitor could potentially push a traitor in front
No,
of
I
us?
know. I thought he was like playing stupid, which to me would make him more suspicious to me.
Totally, Mary.
MJ and Cedric, yeah. Because yeah, I'd be like, you're on this show and you don't know how it works. Like, it's just, I just wouldn't buy into it. And then the moment that people see that you're smarter than that, they'll remember that moment and then be like, that doesn't add up, and that's a dead giveaway.
Mhm.
So don't think it's the smartest thing for him to do. You don't have to play like you don't know how anything works to not seem like a traitor.
Well, that's seemingly what he's been doing, because
Yeah, and it's not working.
remember the time in it was last episode, in episode 3, in the breakfast room, where he was basically saying like, "Oh, well, if Nichelle was a traitor, she could have fooled me." And they're all like, "She's obviously not a traitor. She was just murdered." What? And he's like, "Oh." Sophie says, "Oh, the duo is back together."
Yay.
Yes, we are. Cedric and Nick get back to the manor, and Cedric is with a group of people, and they want him to tell them now exactly what went on. And he wanted to wait for the round table. He doesn't want to explain it twice. And Lauren is just fed up with the chaos and like the joking around, and Lori's fed up, and they're all thinking Cedric is a terrible person. I need to see more, because he's not bothering me. I'm not living with him. I get it.
Oh, he would rub me the wrong way for sure. For sure. Well, because then he says it and then it's like, she's like, that wasn't that hard, was it? Like, like, you know what I mean? Like,
But
it's,
we could have said, or could he have said, yeah, Nick really wanted to be the one that told us what we're doing. Like, you
yeah,
say that?
but he didn't. So like that, and I think that's the whole point, is that it's like he's not choosing the right path. So when it's like that easily could have been something like that, where you're really considering other people around you and how you're like willing to get to that point, and then at least be steadfast, like stick your ground. If you're saying you're not saying it because of whatever reason, then don't say it. Don't then just give in, and then only to be, for people to be like,
That's not enough, or that's not a big deal. Why are
yeah,
you not?
yeah, I would rather just either keep it a big mystery and then say it when you want to say it, and then maybe reveal why or something. Just
All he really had to say was like, "Listen, I get it.
yeah,
It's not a big deal to you, but we decided as a duo that we were going to tell everybody at the round
yeah,
table."
and he should have thought of that going in, because I'm like, you weren't cornered. Like you knew
She
people
was
were
being a
like,
little bit pointed, I
yeah,
would
but I feel
say.
like people, you knew the likelihood someone was going to
Want to know more?
be right. So it's like you should have had that kind of like thought process. But again, love that he's on the show. Very entertaining.
So then Pac-Man and Aaron ask Nick about what happened, and he said that, "Oh, we're not going to say anything." And they're like, "Well, Cedric told us." So now Nick is mad at Cedric for going back the pact that they made to not saying anything. And I don't know. I just don't think that Nick should be that mad about it but it's because he wanted to have like this glory of like actually speaking up and saying something. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Cedric told the truth for him. And for him to be like, oh my God, I can't believe we promised that we're not going to say that. Like, I think that looks kind of sus, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Still zero limelight, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know. You don't know how. Maybe like Nick's annoyed with Cedric to begin with before any of that. So like this just adds to something already. But who knows? Who knows? But I mean, yeah.
I mean, they should have just come in and been like, hey guys, we will tell you everybody what happened here at the round table.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I would have just made that announcement.
Such a weird way to go about it.
Miko says Cedric wasn't like that on The Amazing Race Canada. I think his ego has gotten him now that he knows he's one of the reality stars.
Yeah, I didn't see it either on The Amazing
But he's
Race.
a comedian.
Okay.
Like, you know, like he's like on the stage making jokes loud. Like that's he was a little bit like that on The Amazing Race.
Yeah, but I feel like not like this. I was thinking that because there's a comment here, and I was also thinking that like in this particular episode as well. I was like, you weren't like this on The Amazing Race. I'm like, was I just not seeing that in the edit, or yeah, it feels different. I agree.
So like what? What's the difference that you guys are pinpointing?
I just more obnoxious, really.
Oh,
It's just
he's definitely more
yeah,
obnoxious, but we're seeing more of him.
yeah. So yeah, maybe again, like
Because
maybe I
you're
just didn't
mostly
see it.
separated with your team. So with his son,
But you're still like in high intense situations on The Amazing Race.
but not
You're
necessarily interacting with people one on one.
I mean, yeah, and you have other teams and stuff like that. So, but
And they
it,
weren't
we didn't
very
see it.
good.
We just didn't. Sure, we just didn't see it. Whereas like now we're seeing more of him, and maybe this is more towards who he is on these types of shows. Obviously, I have no idea what he's like, in person, but it's yeah. I was also thinking the same thing. So it's funny that you said that.
Well, Aaron thinks that Cedric is going to be getting some heat, which he likely will. But Trana wants the group to work together to get Kirkland out. And I see Kirkland just defending himself calmly. And I've just been feeling so bad for him because I know he's not a traitor and he's a nice person. Mary thinks that maybe Cedric is too confident. Maybe he's too confident. What am I writing down here? Michael John thinks Kirkland is a traitor. Oh, they're at the round table here, but at this point then. Right. So when Kirkland was defending himself at the beginning of the round table, like it's funny, like Nick wanted to speak, but Nick didn't get a chance to speak. Trana right in there right away starts speaking about how this is going to go down. And then we see Kirkland defending himself calmly. And then we see Michael John turning to Kirkland and saying, like, you shared some really important things to me in the car, but I still think you're a traitor. And I was like, oh, that sucks, Michael John. Like, I mean, I wish that he would push in another direction for somebody else because I wanted Kirkland to stay, but Gail doesn't think Kirkland is a traitor. She's going with her gut here. So I think that this is probably why the girlies want Gail to potentially be recruited, because she's level-headed and smart. And so they probably don't want to get rid of her because they like her, and she'd probably be an asset to the Traitors team. But I think she could be a detriment soon to the Traitors because
Murder
she is smart.
potential. Yeah, exactly. Especially
And I don't think they want to murder her. So,
especially because like now, could get a bit of, people like, under her to kind of vote together and whatnot. But I don't know. It's I like watching her a lot and I hope she does well. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I really don't mind the traders being caught and like having a little bit of shuffle because that makes it more interesting. So Michael John can go first. But I would like to even see her recruited, to be honest with you. That'd be interesting for me.
I agree. I would like to see it. I wrote down Nick thinks the Traitors would have checked him. What was I talking about?
Nick think the traders would have checked him. with yeah,
I guess
somewhat.
wait, what was I saying? Maybe it was that oh, okay, yes. So would have checked. I don't know if it was him as in Nick, but say if it were Cedric that was a traitor, and they go back to the conclave, they would have been like, "Hey, you're doing too much. Like, tone it down a little bit." I think they're
Oh, and
talking
he
about I don't know
hasn't,
if it's
so that
Kirkland or Cedric. I don't remember, but
right,
in general, that is true because they did that to Michael John. Michael John was like being a pretty shitty traitor, and they're like, "People are onto you. Like, change some things," and he did. So the fact that Kirkland hasn't changed the way he's been acting, or even Cedric hasn't changed the way that they're
right.
acting, to me would be implies
Indicate
they're
that
faithful.
he's yeah. Unless they're like, that double bluff kind of a situation where they're like, well, now I can't change because people will be like, why are you changing? But I agree with you. I think they would check them and then change even slightly or just tone it down gradually, and you'd notice a difference there. So, mhm.
Smiko's reminding us what it was. The thing with Kirkland is even though he's in a vulnerable position, he still comes off as suspicious and aggressive. Exactly. If people are not changing the way that they're being, it's likely because they're being truthful. That's a
Yeah,
good tell, though. New good tell.
yeah.
Jasmine is just going to be real. She's suspicious of Mike. And she says emotionally intellectual. And Mike's like, what does that mean? She's like, I don't have to explain to you what that means. You should know what that means. It's like, okay, well, how does it mean? What does it mean to you, Jasmine? Trina is annoyed that no one is speaking, but I do find with how Trina leads this roundtable, she kind of makes it fearful for everybody else to actually say something because she'll be like, no, you're wrong. No, that's not what we're doing. And it's like, well, okay, well, you're telling us what we're doing. So, okay. Would you, I mean, I wouldn't be afraid of speaking my mind. I don't think, but how would you be in a roundtable with Trina?
Well, I'm a loudmouth, so I, like I said, I've played these games online, and it's something where I was the Trenna, of the round tables, where people thought I was like, a traitor and running the thing. But listen, I never got them to vote me out because I kind of, as long as you can, the thing is, you can be a loudmouth and but you need to be of the people as well. And really, like, as long as you're speaking out on behalf of like most of what people are thinking and whatnot. And, but to answer your question, I wouldn't be afraid to speak up. So, but I can definitely see people who are, having said that, these are all like a lot of big personalities. So,
Mhm.
I'm surprised that we're not hearing more of people. Maybe they are and just, edit, but who knows?
So Gail votes for Jasmine. Kevin votes for Mike. Netta, I thought this was brilliant on her part, was like, kept on erasing which name she's putting down because she doesn't know. I was like, that's good. It's very good. And she landed on Cedric. Nick goes for Melinda, Aaron for Mike, Lori for Cedric. Just doesn't want him on the show anymore. I was like, oh, that's harsh.
I know. Uh,
Especially since like she doesn't do anything for the show, and so for her to like,
I was just like, there's another way of putting that. Like, you could just say he's a bad faithful and like move on. But it's just like, I don't want to see your face.
I don't want to see you on this. I don't want you on the show anymore. Um, wow. Like I mean, I wish you just would have a conversation with him and just be like, hey, like you're rubbing me the wrong way. Da, 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 da. Like
And maybe they will.
maybe
Maybe
they
they
will.
will. Yeah. Who knows?
Uh, Melinda goes for Kirkland, Jasmine for Mike, Lauren for Cedric, Pacman. His gut says Kirkland. Kira went for Kirkland. Dylan goes for Mike. Trana goes for Kirkland. Mike goes for Jasmine. Cedric for Kirkland. And Kirkland is leaving with a bad taste in his mouth, but
Yeah.
votes for Melinda.
See, and now Kira was like, um, what did she say? She said, "You just haven't done enough to convince me otherwise," kind of a thing, like kind of insinuating like this was kind of the idea coming into this, and I
You haven't.
wasn't convinced otherwise. I mean, I thought that was brilliant, and I think that's why she's doing so well, is knowing how to talk to people and stuff like that. And even that's like, you don't even think about it as like, well, this is their voting history and this is what they've done, and you're just being like, it's almost unassuming. It kind of
And it doesn't show that you are 100% sure. And
Yeah,
so it's
and
the
the onus is
uncertainty
not
of
on
it.
her. It was, like,
Mhm.
on kind of, like, the circumstances, it's almost like blaming Kirkland. It's like, "You didn't do enough, and this is kinda what they were saying, and I'm sorry." So I was like, "Oh, that's so smart. I'm gonna use that."
We should make like a guidebook on how to be an effective traitor. Michael John also votes for Kirkland. What did I write? 5 votes received and none. Yeah. So there's 5 different people that got votes. So Mike, Cedric, Jasmine, um, Melinda, and Kirkland, and not one of them are a traitor.
Wow. Yeah. I obviously picked up on that right away, which I'm like is really impressive. And B, just to note personally, I was really only worried when Melinda's name came out. I was like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for Melinda to go. So, yeah, that was just my perspective of it. But
All right, Kirkland gets to the front. He says he has not told a lie. I'm a faithful, and exit the game. Um, I said Lauren defending the nod. Do you know what I was talking about there?
who? Lauren
Lauren. Mhm.
defending the nod? Um, was she defending like
I guess I don't remember
the
specifically
previous
right
one?
now, but I guess being like, well, we believe that nod meant this. I don't know. Actually, I have to watch
She
it
must
again.
have she must
Chat.
have
What am I
brought it up.
talking about?
Someone must have brought it up again or something, right at the end or something, I don't know.
So
With the
Lauren
nod.
is exhausted. Lauren thinks that Cedric is an active distraction. Um, fine, but Lori isn't bringing anything to the show at all, right? Right.
Yeah.
Miko says that they're heading to the Traitors Australia. 2 of those faithfuls are terrible. Yeah. Do you think these faithfuls are going to get a traitor out?
Yeah, and I do think like you said, it's gonna be Michael John. I feel like they'll throw him under the bus when they need to, like when they need to cut that cord, they'll let him go and sacrifice. Because it will get to a point where, as soon as their names are a little out there, there's some suspicions or whatever, they will be like, well, we'll serve you one, and then and then do what we need to do with the others. So it'll be interesting to see if Kira and Netta can make it to the end, because I do think that those two kind of going after each other to be the sole traitor would be really interesting TV. So
Mary says Zanata is giving Trishelle level of Delulu, and I know Trishelle got it after Peter spelled it out to her, but still. I don't remember specifically that example, but obviously I know who both these people are. Okay, I think this is the part. Let's see. Okay, so Lauren wants to get rid of Cedric because he's too much of a distraction for her. How do you feel about I'm always thinking that as soon as they are being banished, like the episode's going to be over. And then there's like 15 minutes after. How do you feel about the edited like segments of this season?
well, this episode, it makes sense because of what their task is, and I feel like they always leave that on like a cliffhanger. um Overall, I don't enjoy that. Like, I don't mind, again, this I don't mind it for. It makes sense when there's like this live murder. um but yeah, you know me, I like
Button,
my
beginning, middle, and end.
episodes like,
The story.
complete, like, like a survivor, snuff that torch, be done with it, start anew. I hate cliffhangers.
Especially when
So
they're not good. I'm gonna watch the show. Like I
yeah,
don't.
yeah, I'm watching it anyway, so just like, why are you making me wait? Like, it's
It
good, like,
actually makes me annoyed with the show
right, it's just, yeah, it's not gonna make me tune in, it's just going to tick me off. You know what I mean? So
and be
I
like,
want
"Where am I again? What was happening?" Like.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Gail, of course, is sad about Kirkland. Mike thinks that Michael John is a traitor now, or again. Jasmine and Lauren, with Jasmine and Lauren as also as traitors. I was like, well, no, but stick with the Michael John thread, Mike. That's good. We learned that there's going to be a murder in plain sight. They have to say, I trust you to the suspect, or the suspect has to say, I trust you to them before midnight with a handshake. And so it's really hard for the three of them to get together to figure this out. They have about 20 minutes to be able to get this I
Okay,
trust you handshake
that's what
going.
I missed. I was like, how much where did they start at? Because I knew the
It was like
midnight thing, but I missed
11:30.
it. That's I feel like they normally get more time than that. Do they not? Like an hour or something? Or
I don't know. Well, I think that they had
oh,
they got the letter maybe earlier on the day. Like in the morning before they go to breakfast. I feel
mm.
like they got the letter. And so they probably have known the whole day that they're going to have a discussion and decide who they want to do it. I love that Nevada was like, nah, this is not for me. I'm not going to be doing this. Would you have taken this task on, Jonathan?
And I wouldn't, because I feel like, we've seen this
Even as
before.
somebody that wants to do every part of the show and
Yeah,
experience it
yeah, I
all?
wouldn't, because I think it's too risky. Fingers will be pointed. You'll be like, "Wait, who called who out to have a one-on-one with? What did you?" It depends on what it was. A handshake is no, no. Like getting someone to drink from a glass, maybe you can kind of place it. Hopefully, it happens. Dip out, but people are going to be like, who was in that room when this would have happened? And or handshake, like if I'm not seeing it, it was likely on a one-on-one. And who's calling who out? I wouldn't call anyone out. I'd be in groups at all times. I would be like, you're not pointing a finger at me. So I think this particular method is too risky.
And Michael John is excited about it. He wants to do this so badly. Why do you think he's so excited about it? Is it just because he's a bad player?
I don't think he's the best. But I feel as if he maybe feels like he's playing alone and he didn't have the decision like that first round of who was gonna get murdered or whatever. And so yeah, maybe he's just like excited to like kind of head this one. So but it's not a smart move to want to head it.
Especially being as bad as he is as deflecting and responding to people coming for him. I'm like,
Yeah, it needs to be really smooth. I would definitely not be calling people out into the hallway. I would like hope to, just grab someone and be like, "Hey, yeah, so let me speak to you for a second," and not in front of other people, and then just and be like, "I just wanted to tell you that, I trust you 100%. I hope you feel the same way." But like, you know what I mean? And just like, and then be done. And so,
so they're trying to find a time for them all to get together to have a discussion as to who's going to do what, and they don't have much time because every time there's two of them are together, someone would join, and then when Michael John comes in and Netta says like he's making eyes at me, like I would just be like, okay, I can't work with this guy. I cannot work with this guy. He's going to do this task. He's going to screw it up for himself, and he's going to get himself banished. This is fine. I like him
yeah,
making eyes at me, like
I would be like,
he's probably
if,
like,
if I was Ned, I'd be like, "Why are you looking at me like
okay.
that?" In front of everyone. Yeah.
He's too much of a liability. I would need him gone. He's not swift enough at the game to be able to play with. It's so bad. So basically they are trying to figure out like if they can meet, if they can't meet. They finally do get to figure out that Michael John is going to get Dylan to shake his hand and say, I trust you. And we leave the episode with him in the hallway with Dylan, with like, the clock says 1 minute to spare, but
Clock always says 10 seconds to spare, you know what I mean? Yeah, and then we had the little moment where who was it touching
oh, yes.
Dylan?
Did I write down?
She was
Oh,
like,
Lauren says to Kira, I trust you, or something like that. And
it
she's
was
like,
like
did it count? Did
touching
it
her
count?
hand. She's like,
Yeah.
"Doesn't it count?"
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I was like,
Now, do
"Oh,
you think they're gonna make it count?
no,
No.
no." I mean, technically, did they say handshake? It needs to be handshake, right? Yeah, that's like a grazing. That's not a handshake. I mean, handshakes are up for debate, but at the same time, no. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh God, I hope it doesn't count," but no, I don't think it will.
I thought it was funny though how
Funny that it
dramatic she
happened.
was.
Yeah,
Well, that is pretty much it for this episode. Do we have an MVP?
always Kira.
Kira, I can give it to Kira this episode with how she voted. Um how she lied in the challenge.
Mhm.
She's doing well. Okay, I'll give that to Kira. Full show. Anything excited that you're for the season to come? What are you last thinking?
No, I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking going into it. It's been really entertaining. It's good. And we'll see what happens. But I do want to see kind of Michael John just go and then see a new dynamics. I would love to see like an all woman, traitor little threesome perhaps, and have them kind of like rule the season. That would be fun. Really going under the radar there or something. So, and then maybe going for each other near the end.
Ooh. Fantastic. Yes, I definitely am enjoying the season. I think it is time for Michael John to get caught and maybe get
Yeah.
banished next episode. That would be nice. I would love to see Gail getting recruited at this point
Hmm.
too. So I think all the directions that the show is going to go in, I think will be like enjoyable. So I'm pretty excited for
Yeah. And
that.
for the Canadian version of stuff, we know it doesn't usually last as long for their other counterparts like American or whatnot. So I think this is a great season for Traitors Canada to have longevity. With more seasons to come. So I'm happy it's turned out the way it has so far.
Me too. Thank you, everybody here in the chat, for talking about this episode with us. You guys are much appreciated. And please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like this video. Let us know who you think the MVP is. Who do you think is going to be banished next episode? Who do you think? Oh, I guess was Dylan the right choice to be murdered? Actually, I'll ask you that before we go. Was he the right person to be murdered, or does it not matter? Whoever Michael John
I
wants.
think I think it's based off of it's the right thing if that's what Michael John wants to do. So for the others, but I mean, no, not necessarily. So
And if they could have murdered someone, who do you think would have been best to murder if it was like a normal round?
oh gosh, I mean, it's there's a few options there, but as long as it's someone who's really just definitively a faithful in everyone's eyes, that's just all you need to be going for right now. Um, but if because the traders are doing so well and maybe they're definitively traders in other people's eyes, and you have to kind of switch it up because you can't keep just narrowing it down and then you be the only ones left who are like that. So but we'll see.
We will see. And I also keep an eye out for my exit interview with Enoch. I have posted already my exit interview with Kirkland, and just going to post the one with Enoch after this. So yeah, check those out. I've done all the exit interviews so far, so please show those videos some love. And I guess we'll be seeing everybody next week sometime. Jonathan, will you come back next week? Because Mel is still away.
Right. I may be able to come back next week. I may be able to.
Woo!
Yeah.
Fun times. And we'll do it closer to when you watch the episode so you will remember
Well, I'll
everything
take
that
notes
goes
then. I'll
down.
take notes. I'll take notes.
Thank you for being here. Thanks everybody in the chat. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.